He is Al Leiter. How are you, Al?
Good, Rich. How are you?
You surprised that Hanley's on the bench today? What do you think?
Hanley hasn't been good, that's for sure. I think it probably ultimately would go to matchups. I'm not terribly surprised, but if Nunez did what he did before he got hurt, it's a better lineup.
What do you think of the series as a whole? Red Sox, Astros. Break it down for me.
Wow. Listen, I don't know how the postseason proceeds, and I know there's some premium starting pitchers. Obviously, you wouldn't know that based on the two wild card games with the awful starts of each one of them. Tonight, Rich, could be the marquee starting pitcher matchup throughout. Who knows? Let's see what the Dodgers do, and is there going to be a Kershaw-Scherzer matchup, or do we later on see either a Verlander or Sale against Kluber? But today could be a real fun game to watch if you love pitching. And I think both of these guys are premium. I think the only thing that really I always look for is ultimately who's feeling good about what they've been doing, which of the pitchers and players going into postseason when they know that they've had it locked up are either banged up, nicked up, or not feeling confident based on what they've done. And with that, Verlander has been nothing short of amazing since the trade. Sale has been real Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, August, September has been, he's either been really good or really bad. I know Chris Sale, we were talking in July around baseball. Not only was he a slam dunk to win the Cy Young, but he might have, he was talking about MVP. So it just shows you with a couple months. I do love them both. I think they're premium ace kind of stuff guys. And it comes down to the same thing, Rich, and I know you watch baseball closely. Which of the pitchers make the least amount of mistakes? And we're watching night in, night out. I watched last night's game, and, guys throwing 98, 99, 100 miles an hour. Guys are turning on, hitting home runs, line drives. It's amazing what Major League hitters can do if they know what's coming.
Yeah, and then Sale's never done it before. You forget that because of all of his strikeouts and all of his terrific seasons that he's racked up one after another. He's never been on the hill in October before, and we've seen already the first two who's never done it before, in Severino and Gray. They did not acquit themselves very well. So what about Sale against this lineup gives you some confidence that he's going to be able to go deep into this game, Al?
It's a good point, and no matter where you are in your baseball life, this is what you dream of. Certainly with Chris Sale and what's going on with the White Sox, he got a new lease on life, and it has showed. But it's different, Rich. I can tell you, having experienced some World Series and some postseason games, as much as you want to pretend, and the answers are canned answers when you see these press conferences of it's just another game, I'm just going to go out and play my game. When the game starts, it's just another game. It's not. And if you have that ability to really eliminate those exterior distractions and all of the hype and pomp that goes with it, it's usually the guy that'll do well. Hey, Chris Sale's got his hands full. I know he's done well against the Astros, but the Astros across the board are the best offensive team in baseball. In so many different statistical categories, and they hit left-handers. So the matchup says Chris Sale, I trust his stuff. He's a high elevated fastball, 95, 96 plus upstairs. He still has that back foot slider, that Berry slider. He's starting to sprinkle in more changeups, but I think when he's on and he does what he does well, it'll still be a tough call for the Astro hitters, but I like the Astro lineup.
Al Leiter of the MLB Network. Again, they've got Game 1 of Red Sox Astros at 4 Eastern today, and then the Game 2 of Yankees Indians that starts tonight. Surprised that Sonny Gray's out there, and also Bauer. This could easily be CC Sabathia against Kluber, which is tomorrow night's matchup. Why do you think this is the Game 1 matchup that favored by both managers here, Al?
Well, I get the Sonny Gray thing. I do. I think with CC, left-handed batting average against, or lefties pose a little bit more of a problem for the Cleveland lineup. CC has been throwing well. I think that Joe Girardi has managed his innings and his pitch counts and all of that stuff for a guy that's been around a long time. He's got that bulky knee, and I think that they really maneuvered when he feels right. He's been good. CC's grown into truly a pitcher. I'm not surprised about Sonny Gray. Yeah, he's been inconsistent. He's had some bad games down the stretch, but this is why they traded for him, Rich. He was supposed to complement, at the top end of the rotation. Tanaka came up with a huge game in his last start with 15 strikeouts. But I think Sonny Gray is capable. I think the bigger question mark is Trevor Bauer, as good as the year that he's had. Outside of maybe a Kershaw, outside of Kershaw and Sale, and you sprinkle in a couple other names, Kluber's right there at the best pitcher in the game, and I want to make sure that he's getting off to start. Listen, we got a lot of statistics that we run over, but this is pretty profound. In Game 5 series, 71% of the teams that win Game 1 move on to the next round. So Game 1 is very important in baseball. It has been statistically, and I don't know if I want my best pitcher and one of the best pitchers in the game pitching Game 2. That's no knock on Trevor. It sounds like it is. When Trevor has his big curveball, he's a loosey-goosey guy. He's coming at you. He's pitched well against the Yankees. I think Terry Francona's he's got great options. I mean, we didn't even talk about Carrasco as good as he's been.
Yep.
So, the depth and the rotation and bullpen of the Indians, they're the most complete team for me.
A couple of more minutes with Al Leiter here on the Honda Insider Report from the MLB Network, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Handicap the National League side of things for me. Who do you think is going to make the World Series now that we know the Final Four in the NL, Al?
Well, my gut tells me I want to pick the Dodgers because I want to believe that they were the team that was rolling to be the best team in the history of baseball, and then they ran into August and lost whatever they were. Lost 20 out of 25. They have Kershaw. Who's obviously a great player. If you can get the guys that were banged up to come back, they have arguably, if not the best closer in the game in Kenley Jansen. But with that said, as to why I also like the Indians, I think now let's see what happens with Scherzer. I haven't heard the latest news. I don't know if you have either.
Nope.
But Strasburg's had a hell of a year. I'm okay with that. For as much as I would like for Scherzer to be pitching Game 1, Strasburg's been every bit as good, especially down the stretch. And then Gio Gonzalez is back to what he was a couple years ago. So the top 1, 2, 3 for me with the Nationals absolutely matches up with the Indians, and I think it still goes with that. I know the mixing and matching. I know that the bullpens are great, as we saw with the Yankees and some other teams, the Indians and the Red Sox. But give me 3 good starters that I can trust that I think should go deep in the game.
I know. Before I let you go, what were your thoughts watching Archie Bradley split the gap and then just steam into third base, rip that helmet off, and stare at everyone, wondering if they're entertained or not? I mean, that was incredible, Al.
And I think that was his reaction, Rich. It's like, I don't know the kid, and I hear the interviews. He sounds like a nice guy, but, it was listen, if you're a D-back fan, was that not just an awesome moment? I mean, you have your pitcher who shouldn't hit, and then ropes a huge triple to be really, it ended up being they needed a few more later on. What a game, too. I did not anticipate that from Zach Greinke. He's had a heck of a year.
Well, I mean, and Bradley now, I do believe, matches you, Al, in career triples, if I'm not mistaken. You belted one out, best we can tell, a first inning 2-run triple, just like Archie Bradley, but in the first inning, way back in 2001. Do you remember that, Al?
Yeah, I do.
What do you got for me here?
I did it off of Brad Penny, who was throwing hard. First of all, full disclosure, I was one of the worst hitters that ever stood in the Major League Batter's box. I will tell you that, and I'll admit to it. I'm not a good hitter, but
come on now.
Hey, every once in a while you get lucky. But I wrapped it, and then I realized, Rich, oh my God, I got to run, and I'm fat and I'm slow, and I get to second. I see John Stearns, who's the third base coach. He's waving me. I'm like, what? I'm not supposed to hit a triple. But I think you and everybody else listening would have had an inside the park kind of home run because Preston Wilson dove for it. It rolled all the way to the wall at Shea Stadium, and I got a triple.
So are you saying stand up? You didn't slide in? You stand up triple?
Yeah, stand up triple from the guy who had a piano on his back.
Is it true that you tried to lay down a bunt though earlier in the at bat, Al? Is that a true story?
I used to do that a lot. So actually, in the at bat, because I was terrible, I would do the little butcher voice, turn, pretend like I was bunting, and then as the pitcher would go, I would wind back, load, whatever, and then the timing was about right because I couldn't get that whole stay back thing and throw your hands. So I actually butcher boyed a triple off of Brad Penny, who threw it 100 miles an hour.
Don't ever let anybody take that away from you, Al.
No, I will not.
Take care, Al. Love chatting with you, as always.
Rich.
You got it. Enjoy the playoff games on MLB Network tonight and tomorrow. Again, Game 1 of Astros-Red Sox today.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app, and I'll be sure to help the NFL figure out what a catch is.